4 times in the next 15 seconds. Ready? Go. Our local agents know you and your community. Our local agents offer insurance from top carriers. Our local agents have minty fresh breath.
Find us at ComparionInsurance.com. Comparion Insurance Agency. Local agents. Expert advice.
And there's number 4.
Yeah, I'm so stressed. Our business is growing. We've got people all over now.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 50 features.
Ooma?
Yep, switching to Ooma is a cinch. Just $24.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Find small business calm at ooma.com/radio. That's OOMA.com/radio.
The Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and online at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Good morning on a beautiful Thursday morning. A little warm, but this is summertime, July, of course. This is Bill Krause on the Roundtable on a weekly sharing of the community and community leaders. This is a very special occasion for me because my first guest when I first came on WGNS 4 years ago was Scott Foster. Would you believe? So we have Scott Foster back with us, the executive director of Journey Home. Journey Home, which is not only in the vanguard of dealing with the homeless community, but is a very important partner in so much of what we do in Murfreesboro and Rutherford County. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Bill.
It's good to see you again. And introduce your right hand, who's sitting on your left.
I certainly will. We have Liz Kauser, our Director of Development and Marketing, with us this morning. Welcome, Liz. Glad to have you with us.
Good to be here, and hello, Bill.
Hello, Liz. Before we talk about Journey Home and its great future and great opportunity and great role, let's talk about homeless at this particular point. You know, I have, previously been associated with HARC, but dealing in classes of what people consider and define as homeless, perhaps you could reaffirm that homeless is far more complex than people just think. People living by the river, 2 types of homeless, temporary homeless and long-term homeless, but kind of give an overview of homeless today in Rutherford County.
Sure, Bill, glad to do that. Our homeless community is diverse, and I can say that in the 17 years I've been involved, we have never seen as much need as we have today. Our community exists of families with children, and it exists in older adults who have chronic medical conditions and serious mental illness. We have a lot of folks in our community who have substance use problems, who have trauma, history of trauma. Many times when they were children and growing up, afforded few opportunities and much dysfunction and much trauma in their lives. And so our role is to get people together, help meet basic needs to just stabilize the situation, and then help them plan, set goals and plan and execute strategies to move forward to get back into community life for those that can, and for those that cannot due to the seriousness of their mental health issues or medical issues, to create opportunities, housing opportunities and service opportunities for them to live in community with us. And so we're working on all of those things. I tell you, in 2022, just to give you an example, the new cases, those agencies that work with us in our community, there are about 60 of us that share the same database. So
both faith-based as well as social service agencies.
Yes, absolutely. Faith-based and the secular community. We use the same database for people that are coming to us for assistance. And this does not mean that all of these individuals are homeless, but they typically are coming to us for housing-related resources. So they're unstably housed if they are housed. And our number of new cases now grew to about 4,100 new cases in 2022. And the average for the 3 previous years was about 3,000 cases per year, new cases.
Wow.
So that's a significant increase. And for the first time, since I've been doing this, first time I know probably in the history of our data, new cases among those that live in families with children now outpace new cases of individuals. And so that is, that's a real call to action for us in the community, that we have to do things to break cycles of homelessness, to ensure opportunities for the children in these families and help those families stabilize so that we don't have future generations of those dealing with poverty and homelessness and many of the issues that go along with that.
Have you seen also a significant rise in women being homeless, whereas, as I can recall, used to be the young man or the older man, and that was considered homeless, but the percentage and numbers of women who are now homeless, who had been, quote, divorced or family broke up or out of nest children, and they have no job, no direction, and they can't pay the rent.
We do see a significant number of women in our unsheltered community. Most people think of the homeless community, and what comes to mind is the unsheltered homeless, which is a significant part of that community, but not nearly, doesn't nearly represent the whole community. In the unsheltered community, the Journey Home operates a program called Coldest Nights during the wintertime months, where we provide emergency shelter whenever the temperatures drop below freezing. And in this past year, about 30% of those that participated, well over 200 unique individuals, in fact, I think it's 280 something, but I'm calling that off the top of my head, 30% of those were women. So
wow.
7 men out of 10, 3 women out of 10. And let me tell you what was even more distressing. 25% of that entire group was over the age of 55.
Oh,
we actually had some
terrible.
Over the age of 70
Wow.
that are on the street here in our community.
70-year-old woman who suddenly finds herself without a roof over her head.
And that's tough.
Can't imagine anything more tragic.
That is really tough. And solutions in many of those cases, chronic homelessness, you've got health and mental health and substance use. And a generation or two ago, we had institutional support and institutional care, and now the institution is the streets.
Yes.
And we as community members have to be better. We all have to pull together to make sure that all of our citizens have a way to participate, because when people do get a roof over their head and have a caseworker, social worker working with them, making sure they're following their medical regimens and attending their appointments and therapies and things of that nature, they can build community and be totally different people, really contributing members of our community. And we need to work together to make those things happen.
Excellent. If you were to identify, and I've had this discussion in class a number of occasions, people think that if you just build housing and put them in housing, you're going to solve the issue.
Right.
Right or wrong?
Yeah, that's not the case.
I know, and that's a fallacy that too many people are operating. Build them housing, move them in the housing will solve the issue.
Yeah, and now let me say,
Yes.
housing is priority. Nothing works. Social services, having a nurse work with you or a social worker work with you, none of those things work if you don't have housing. However, only having housing is simply a way, it's not sustainable, and it's simply a way of warehousing people and just getting them out of sight and out of mind. In the long run, we want people to be able to be self-reliant. We want them to be able to take care of themselves, even on limited incomes. Maybe they have disability income or things like that, but there are other ways that they can participate in our community and keep themselves in a good position to build relations with others and to live a much more functional life among us. So it does take both housing and services.
Correct.
Those relationships are so important to people
Can't do
growing.
one without the other is what you're saying.
That's right. You're not going to grow and execute your plans and stay on track without people involved in that process.
You know, I was reading a statistic here recently, and I can't give you the source because I forgot the source, but it intrigued me. They took the percentage in California, this was a California study, took the percentage of people, of the 40 million people in California who are now living on the streets in Los Angeles and San Francisco and other communities, and they took that percentage, and it was almost identical to the percentage in 1966 of people in mental institutions. And when the doors were opened to relieve budget pressures in the state of California, that percentage suddenly changed from people, I don't like to use the word incarcerated, housed in state housing, and that percentage was almost identical in terms of mental illness to living on the street 60 years later.
That's interesting. That's an interesting statistic.
And you know,
very
the whole
realistic.
question of mental illness, and I think even in my earlier experience, a number of the people that I spoke to had money in the bank. It wasn't that it was a whole poverty situation. And I remember one gentleman, a veteran, receiving his VA benefits, receiving his Social Security benefits, and he was very proud that he had a passbook with $22,000 in the bank. But he basically did not want to live in a confined housing, pay for rent, and quote, live on the street, as he put it.
There are people that are very difficult to serve, and there are some that we cannot serve without having special supportive housing that meets those needs for specific mental illness and social disorders and things of that nature. The number that we cannot serve is small. So we need to do all the things we can to serve those in the larger group so that they don't become so entrenched in a life on the street that they become part of that group that is extremely difficult to serve, and in some cases we're unable to serve.
No hope, no heart, no head.
Right.
Correct.
And one of the things I'll say, I see things about homelessness throughout the nation. We have to be very proactive right now. We border an area. Well, we are an area that has grown so rapidly over the last 4 decades that we have a lot of pressure on our housing. Our housing costs have risen substantially, even particularly over the last 5 years, but over the last 40 years also. We are in an inflationary environment right now where solutions are much more costly.
Correct.
People get we have a lot of that growth in the number of people we serve is people who have been living previously successfully maintaining housing, but they were right on the edge. So now with housing costs rising, to be honest, we have a ton of out of town, out of area investment in our housing market that is driving costs substantially and creating barriers for people like veterans, where we have veteran benefits that can help them with housing, but they're just not accepting them. And so, the cost of food, the cost of clothing, the cost of everything, fuel, everything else, it makes it more difficult now to serve those that were right on the edge. We do not want those people to fall into street life in a way that is going to lead them down a spiral that becomes very difficult to overcome.
How do we deal with them psychologically versus making sure they've got a roof over their head, food on their tummy, and clothes on their back? How do we deal psychologically with them? How do we turn people around?
That's a great question, and it's the answer is very straightforward. Understanding it is not difficult at all. Sometimes doing it is more difficult, but the answer is relationship. We have professional relationships with through our caseworkers, our case coaches, that help people manage and coordinate services, that help people pull out the goals that they have, help them create strategies and plans to move forward, whether that be in employment or housing, getting health care, things that help them have more self-determination. more impact, more ability to participate in the decisions of their life. But it doesn't fall totally to just caseworkers. Caseworkers are an important professional part of that. It involves community. One of the beautiful things about Journey Home is we are a place where community comes together to help community. So when we have church groups that are coming in to serve meals, when we have folks coming in to volunteer at our center or to work in our housing programs, most of our community does not realize that we help rehouse usually over 100 households a year into the community, and we operate about 30 homes and apartments in the community ourselves, where we work with families, primarily families with children, but also individuals, in helping them get their feet back under, move forward, so they can transition out and be self-reliant. So the community is part of that, and every time people can come and get involved and volunteer and be with others, then they are showing that support, and you would be amazed at the relationships you build when you start to get involved.
I always remembered this. I won't use his name because he probably would be embarrassed, but I always remember the case of many of the homeless are the forgotten family member, that the family has forgotten this relative. It could be a son, could be a brother, could be a cousin, could be a nephew. And I remember this one sergeant in the Murfreesboro Police Department, and I always applaud the Murfreesboro Police Department for their great involvement and care. And this particular sergeant discovered where this lady who hung out at the library on a daily basis, that she was from Salt Lake City. And he tracked her down through the Salt Lake City Police Department, found the family, reached out to the family. Family brought her back home into Salt Lake City, relinking the family member with the lost relative. And that, that really hits the key point. We're this morning with the team from Journey Home, and we're going to hear more about Journey Home and its phenomenal future coming up, which all of you, we hope, will be part of, and trust you'll be an integral part, with Scott Foster as the executive director, and his right hand sitting on his left, Liz, on the Journey Home. We'll be right back after these words from the station.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
There's a lot of people out there talking about testosterone. You hear about treatment centers everywhere. But do your homework and go to a provider that you can trust, one that's been doing it for years. I recommend Low T Center on Medical Center Parkway in Murfreesboro. That's where I get my levels checked. At Low T Center, they make it quick and easy. Walk in, take a simple blood test, and then with their on-site lab, you get the results in 25 minutes. If you've been feeling tired, grumpy, weight gain, or loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone levels. Low T Center is not like a typical doctor's office where you have to wait a long time to see the doctor. Low T Center is concierge medicine exclusively for men. They have affordable and convenient options, including physician-monitored self-inject treatments that ship directly to your home each month. No need to drive to the center for weekly visits. Right now at Low T Center, it's only $25 to get your testosterone level tested. So what are you waiting for? Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Hi, this is Bob Cornell, pastor of Covenant Church right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. The answer that you've been looking for is found in Jesus and what he accomplished at the cross. You see, Jesus changes lives from the inside out. We would love for you to join us at Covenant Church, located at 1124 Brinkley Ave right here in Murfreesboro. We have services Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. and Tuesdays at 7 p.m. You can learn more about us at our Cornell Ministries YouTube channel. We want you to grow in Christ at Covenant Church.
It's Good Neighbor Events, brought to you by the law offices of John Day, AmeriCare Pest Control, and Cardinal Realty Solutions.
This is a paid legal ad. Hi, this is John Day of the law offices of John Day. I've lived and worked as a lawyer in Middle Tennessee for over 30 years, and to me, every single day has been an honor. That's why our firm is so involved with community programs like bicycle helmet giveaways and our Safe Ride Home program. At the law offices of John Day, we're not just looking to make donations. We want to make a difference in the community we hold so dear. And if you're ever injured, know that we are here for you too. WGNS encourages you to shop local. That helps our local economy. Plus, it's also important to listen local. There's a free grief support group every Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock at the St. Clair Street Senior Center. 10 o'clock every Wednesday morning. Plus, there's a Parkinson's support group at 10 o'clock in the morning on the first and third Friday of each month, also at the St. Clair Street Senior Center. For information about the Parkinson's support group or the grief support group, phone 615-848-2550. We told you the General Assembly temporarily eliminated sales tax on gun safes. That savings goes away August 31st, and that'll be here before you know it. Don't forget, Main Street Murfreesboro's Taste of Rutherford is this Saturday night at Oakland's Mansion. Enjoy the finest selections from this area's finest restaurants. The tickets are only $50, and it benefits Main Street Murfreesboro. It's 6 until 9 Saturday night. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Good neighbor weather. We'll see a few scattered showers and storms here for this afternoon with cloudy skies, a high of 90 degrees. Tonight, slight chance for storms, a low near 71. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently, it's 77.
Broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios, MTE has provided light, comfort, and connection to our community since 1936. As your trusted energy advisor, MTE is always here to help. Connect online or download the My MTE app.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
This is Bill Krause once again on the Roundtable, and we're having a delightful visit from the two leaders in the Journey Home. And just before we talk about the future of Journey Home, I want to be sure, and Scott, a little bit of background if you want to share with Journey Home from its beginnings and its growth and its mission and what have you, and then let's open the door for its future.
Sure, Bill. We'll celebrate our 18th birthday, I think, if my math is right, in September. We began 17th, in 2006, and started as an outreach organization. Didn't really have the resources we have today. Opened our resource center in 2009, and also began our housing programs in 2009. We've grown from an all-volunteer staff. We were an all-volunteer staff for the first 3+ years of our organization, and then had a few part-time folks, and now we have a staff of about 13 folks, caseworkers and service coordinators, client associates that are in our place, as well as our team that helps support those efforts in the housing as well as the services. And we have been at 308 West Castle Street since that time, since 2009 opening. And actually, we've been there since 2008 renovating that building.
How have your numbers changed from the day you opened to today in terms of service?
You know, our service numbers in some areas are not very different because we only have the capacity.
Gotcha.
to provide so many meals and so many services. And also, our building itself is in the historic Bottoms redevelopment area. That is one of the reasons that we have been working on plans to develop a new resource center and add additional housing in the community, because that area is redeveloping. In fact, our city council has been involved in some of the land that's adjacent to that area to kick off things with daylighting of Town Creek and moving some of the city properties around for development. So it's very exciting for our community, but it also is an area that is historically had a lot of unhoused people in it. And so for us, it creates the need to do some things different and create some new resources in our community. So we are knee deep in that process. We have some new property right down the road from where we are. We will be able to expand the services that we offer at the Resource Center, and then over the next decade, we will work on building permanent supportive housing communities for those that you were mentioning earlier that had institutional care, that need some medical care and social work care on a daily basis, and a place to live that is affordable for their income, where they can get the services that they need throughout our community, so that they can be better, have better well-being, and participate fully in our community, not as homeless people, but as people that are housed and people that can contribute.
I would love to use the term emerging people. They're
There you go.
emerging out of the hole and going up the mountain. Tell us about this wonderful young lady called Liz.
So Liz came on board with us back during the pandemic. Actually,
Wow.
in
Good timing, Liz.
Of all the
Yes.
difficult times to come into anything new, but development and marketing is nothing new to Liz. She has been working with nonprofits for, 20, maybe nearly 30 years.
She started when she
Quite a
was
while.
5.
That's right. She started when she was but a girl.
That's exactly
Yes.
right.
And she has been doing this work, does a great job. She has been very involved in helping people understand what we do and inviting people to become part of the cause. She also takes care of all of our events, our social media, all the things that we do to communicate to our community.
Her communication backup and follow-up is tremendous. I have to say that, as being involved with nonprofits for many years, and even the smallest donation, you get the receipt of a letter that makes you feel like you just donated $1 million.
That's right, and that is 100% in Liz's department. She's got, in fact, it's Liz and one part-time person. We try to be extremely good stewards of every dollar that's invested, and we invest the vast majority of that directly into services. So we count on volunteers and part-time staff to help support the other work that we do. So anyway, Liz, why don't you share a little bit about what's going on over in the development department?
Your dreams, hopes, and aspirations.
So, Scott's talked a lot about the journey home and how we're serving people. And with this economy, the numbers go up every year in the number of people we are serving. We just had our staff meeting yesterday, and that was part of our conversation, is we have so many people coming in, they can't even do the intakes on them.
Wow.
And with that, of course, we have to have fundraising to pay our staff and pay for our services so we can provide services to people. All of our services at the Journey Home are at no charge, and we want to keep it that way, and that leads us to our fundraising. And we have a spectacular fundraising event coming up in September. And, Scott was mentioning that in September, the Journey Home will be 17 years old. And I'd like for everybody to come out and help us celebrate that at our Groovin in the Borough. It's a great event. It's going to be held out at Copper Ridge Event Venue on September 14th. And we have Tim James and Dan Couch coming out to perform. Tim is a local Murfreesborian.
I never heard that term, but I like it. I like it.
As is Dan.
Yes.
As is Dan,
Yes. And so we're really excited about that. We have an auction that we're going to be holding, and VIP seating for our sponsors and all kinds of things. We already have close to 200 people who have reserved seats at the event, and I believe we can host up to 400. So I encourage people to go ahead and get their tickets before we sell out.
And how do they get their tickets?
They visit our website at lovegodservepeople.org, or they can call and we can help them over the phone. And that number is 615-809-2644.
One more time.
615-809-2644.
And Liz, I think we still have opportunities for sponsorships, business sponsorships.
Absolutely.
At the
Absolutely.
event.
Yes.
Can they find that out on the website, or
They
do they
sure
need
can.
to contact you
Our
by phone?
sponsorships start out at $250, and that gets 2 people, VIP level seating, and VIP reception before the main event. But the sponsorships go up to $5,000, and so we would love for everybody to support the Journey Home. All of the money raised through Grooving will help us rehouse people, and that's a really, as Scott was talking about, that's a really important part of helping people that are homeless.
One of the areas, before you go on, that I always remember Scott talking about over the years, and it was an intriguing observation. Our location on I-24 is a main corridor from north to south or south to north. People on their way to Nashville, car breaks down. People on their way to Chicago, the north, or people in any direction. This is a stop-off point. And I always remember you saying the off-ramps of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County become a destination for many people who are on the borderline of homelessness.
That's a good point. We are on a major thoroughfare in a major growing community and a suburb of Nashville, which is growing
leaps and bounds
exponentially as well, and also has at the cost of much affordable housing, building new infrastructure and new housing there. So we do have people that come through, but I'll say that the vast majority, in fact, better than 90% of the people that we serve at the Journey Home are actually Rutherford County folks. They were born here, they've been here many years. People tend to, let's say, typically, homeless people do not have the ability to just simply travel to place, from place to place. But just like everyone in that population typically moves for opportunity. So it's a better job. It's a new job. It's an area where you have jobs that have a lot of labor required. Many of our folks, do not have higher education, and so they are limited in the types of jobs that they can take. And we offer that in the whole Middle Tennessee community because we have tremendous amount of development and growth going on right now. And with growth, you're going to have people coming for opportunities and inflationary pressure on housing. So you do have some folks that you see from other areas that are moving from place to place, and we do help those folks with services. But one of the things is we invest our housing funding in people that are Rutherford County folks. They either live or work here in our community. With some exceptions. If there has been a natural disaster or they're fleeing domestic violence, if there's a reason that relocation is important to their plan to move forward, then we certainly work with those folks. But the vast majority of those we serve are folks who have been in Rutherford County for many, many years. And, one of the things that people ask me often is, where does the money go? So we have fundraisers and we have grants and we have different funding coming in. Where does that go? And, a huge chunk of that goes into our housing programs and our case management programs. Most people know about our community cafe. Some people may or may not know that we have a clinic. We have nurse practitioners that see patients, our clients at our center during the week, a couple of days. And other services, VA services, mental health services, where we have partners that come into the building to work with our clients. But the majority of the funding that we spend goes into security deposits and rent assistance and short-term things where we help people get back on their feet, where in just a few months, in a month or 2 or 3 months, usually absolutely no more than 6, they are actually managing their own budget. One of the things that people get in mind is that we provide housing for people for free. And let me tell you, I wish I knew where that free housing was because it's not in Rutherford County for sure. And, everyone that is in our housing programs, whether it's housing we operate or in the community, they pay rent. So they are paying, they may be working up to paying the full rent. We might be paying part of it for a few months as they work and they build their ability to manage their budget up. But every one of them participate financially and with their programs. And that's important because that's how people grow to self-reliance.
Liz, how would people volunteer? Who are your volunteers? How do excuse me? How do you motivate people?
People. I'd love to say that I motivate all the volunteers we have. We have over 1,000 volunteers that volunteer annually with the Journey Home, and they pretty much motivate themselves. It's on their heart to serve the most vulnerable part of our population that there really is. That's where the Journey Home services are. And, so if someone wants to volunteer, the first step is visiting our website, lovegodservepeople.org, and signing up to be a volunteer. And at that point, they will start receiving our emails to let them know about our volunteer needs.
Excellent. I do have to make this point. I always recall, and this is so important to make the message, you are one nonprofit that has minimal administrative costs. And so often when you're asked to contribute money, and this is national, this is state, this is regional, the first question you always ask, what percentage is going to administrative costs? And I always remember years ago with United Way nationwide that their administrative cost was exorbitant. So your administrative costs are very, very fair, and you spend most of your resources on people themselves.
That's right. Our resources are invested into financial assistance and case management, in service coordination at the center, direct services we're applying. We don't have a lot of levels of management, if you were to say that. Our housing director actually manages all of our properties, helps with move in and move out and volunteer coordination to pick up furniture and bring it to the house and clean and make repairs and keep the properties maintained so that those that we're serving have a place to live. In our communities, our caseworkers have regular follow-up visits and meetings and calls with those that we're working with to make sure those plans are moving forward. And so that's where we invest our funds.
The interesting thing about Journey Home and many other organizations like this is your long-term objective is you would like to close the door and lock it and not have any need because the homeless issue was totally resolved.
We would love to be run out of business.
Run out of business. I mean,
That's
you don't
exactly
think of
right.
many operations that's saying, hey, our objective is to close the door and not be around. But reality plays a significant role here.
It does indeed, and until we, as a community, decide that every life and every soul matters the same amount as every other one, and that just because somebody is struggling or in crisis, that they're still part of our community, and we make sure that we create a space, a place, housing for people that need our help in the long term. That is the answer for those people that we see on the streets, the majority of them. Some people say things to me like, well, some of the folks out there just don't want to be helped and this and that. Yes, that is true. There is that small group that is in that group, and the best way we can identify those and help them move along to other areas or get to the point that they do want to participate in community is to take those who need our help, serve them well, get them off the streets so we can identify those that don't, and we can help them move on their way.
And the interesting point is, on most of those cases you just described, it's a silent issue. I can recall very vividly how many children are in our local schools that are homeless. And do they stand out in the school? Does a teacher recognize them? Do the fellow classmates recognize them? And I always remember, our relationship with both the city schools and Rutherford County schools, that the amount of children who come to school, perhaps the only meal they have is the meal being provided by the school that particular day. And the psychological challenge that they may have, that going home to possibly a night-by-night motel or temporary housing, what I'd like to have the two of you think about is I want to hear some of the victories, some of the stories that are in your mind of people who have made it, have made the break out of homelessness, are on the paths to a life of happiness, health, good work, good community involvement. Can you think of particular stories that just trigger off in terms of saying, this is worth it?
Yes. What comes to mind, and it's funny that you brought that up, because that is one of the things that we focus on are the families and the children, because people don't even realize they're homeless. They don't want people to know they're homeless, because that compounds the difficulty that they're already experiencing. But we have a client who was in our program about 5 years ago. We are still in contact with her. And she was a victim of human trafficking and had lost custody of her children. Her whole life was just a mess.
Collapsed, yeah.
And today she has custody. She's regained custody of her kids and has had that custody for several years now. Is working full-time, running her household. She's a single mother, and also has two of her sister's children in her household, caring for them as well. So she has totally made an about-face in her life, and even is, serving other people who need the services.
I always live on terms, and terms create images. Believe it or not, and this is only a personal opinion, I never, for example, call a tenant of any of my properties tenants. I call them residents, just to take away the word landlord-tenant. And I would almost say, instead of the word client, I almost say they're guests of Journey Home.
Yes.
And you're honoring guests, whether they're there short-term, whether they're for comprehensive, or whether they're for temporary relief. You are having guests to the Journey Home. Scott, how did Journey Home get its name? Because I've always loved the name Journey Home.
In the beginning, it was actually a long process to come up with this name, and God has been central to this entire process. The call on my life to start what has become the Journey Home, and the vast majority of the people that are involved to some degree by their faith, and motivated by their faith, and their desire to love God by loving people and caring and serving people. So the name itself was born out of a couple of very long weeks of trying every name that we could come up with, sitting in solitary in the MTSU library in 2005, and it represents the fact that there are no quick answers. There are no immediate fixes when a problem has gotten to the point that you no longer have a stable roof over your head. Indeed, it is a process. It's a journey. And that journey, if you're willing and you are interested and you're motivated and you will participate in that journey, others will help you on that journey. One of the scriptures that is central to our ministry is the parable of the Good Samaritan, which talks about a journey in which a person was robbed and beaten and left for dead, and how another that may not have even had a need or responsibility to help helped, and in that people are restored, and they can then become full participants in life again.
This is Bill Krause on the Roundtable. We're having a wonderful visit with two wonderful people from Journey Home. And when we return, I want to go more on the September 14th event, but I want to talk more about the investment in human beings. You're not just building a building, you're not just equipping a building, you're not just furnishing a building. You are developing opportunity for people to not only get off the rocky road journey, but into a journey of hope, a journey of heart, and a journey of faith. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb and Associates. You might know me as the voice of the Blue Raiders, but I want to be your trusted advisor in real estate. Whether you're buying or selling, it's time to choose Chip. Do you have a growing family and need to upsize? Are you an empty nester now and need to downsize? Are you thinking of selling your current home but just worried you can't find something else? Well, it's time to choose Chip. I'm looking to be your trusted advisor in real estate. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb and Associates.
Talking with customers of Jeff's family-friendly restaurant on Hancock Street about why they keep coming back.
It is excellent. Very good food. It's kind of like eating at home. Real nice folks here. So good.
So much food at Jeff's, you'll have a hard time cleaning your plate.
Food is great.
Oh, this is great food. Give you an ample amount. They season it well and give you enough that you don't have to worry about going away hungry.
Come hungry to Jeff's family-friendly restaurant on Hancock Street.
This is great. I love it.
Really good. Glad I came today.
Jeff's family-friendly restaurant on Hancock Street.
French's Shoes and Boots is the #1 place in Tennessee to find the latest Southern styles at unbelievable prices. We know you work hard for your money, so when searching for high-quality footwear that won't let you down, French's has you covered. We have a huge selection of casual and work shoes and boots at the best prices in town, guaranteed.
It makes good sense to shop at French's. French's Shoes and Boots.
1837 South Church Street in Murfreesboro.
This is Dr. David Morris with Magnolia Medical Center. Do you suffer from peripheral neuropathy in your hands or feet, burning pain, balance problems, and decreased quality of life? Magnolia Medical Center can help.
Magnolia Medical Center in Murfreesboro. Online at magnoliamedicalcenters.com.
Here at Bud's Tire, we make buying Michelin tires simpler. I'm Allison Mitchell with Bud's Tire Pros. We offer a straightforward approach to service, including nationwide warranties with every purchase. Stop in today to see our full lineup of Michelin and BF Goodrich tires. For whatever you drive, Michelin and BF Goodrich have a tire to fit any need. Bud's Tire Pros, hassle-free, guaranteed. We're located on East Main Street, exactly 3 miles from the town square, 1 mile past Rutherford Boulevard. Visit us online at budstirepros.tn.com.
Get pharmacy services with a cherry on top from Reeves Sane, Murfreesboro's hometown pharmacy since 1980 at 1801 Memorial Boulevard and at reeves-sane.com.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
Bill Krause for the third and final segment of the Roundtable on this beautiful Thursday morning. And it's a beautiful Thursday morning because we're talking about a beautiful idea, concept, and application called the Journey Home. Liz, talk a little bit more about investing in the Journey Home. I don't like the word donation. I like the word investment. You're investing in a program that you're changing people and you're changing people's direction. Talk about the investment.
Yes. Well, and, I'll just add to that, Bill. It is an investment, and it's an investment in our social profit. Mm-hmm. And so when you think about investing in the Journey Home, we have all kinds of people who regularly invest with us. People who give very small gifts up to people who can afford to give very large gifts. And we're grateful for all of those, and they all matter. And one of the things that I try to share with people who say, well, I just really don't have that kind of money to make a real difference in somebody. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's true. I think that even a $5 gift monthly can make a difference for the Journey Home. If you can skip a cup of coffee at Starbucks one day a month mm-hmm. and make a donation of $5 or $10 monthly to the Journey Home, that really adds up.
You're providing caffeine to a life. I guess would be the analogy.
That's good. That's good.
That's exactly right. And so, giving a monthly gift really helps us manage our budget, because then we know how much money we're going to have each month mm-hmm. to be able to provide services and how that money is going to look coming in over the year.
Excellent, excellent. And as you begin to think about an investment, and I asked you a few minutes ago of those victory stories and the things of seeing a person that has turned around. I recall one incident in my association a few years ago where a fast food owner in Murfreesboro used to see a lady come in every morning for coffee, and started chatting with the lady, and saw that she had been down, saw that she had gone through some personal traumas, that she was not related at any point to her family, etc. And he asked her, would you at least like a part-time job so you have a reason, purpose for getting up in the morning and coming? And she says, I'll try that opportunity. Well, I'm most pleased to say today she's managing 3 of his restaurant franchises. She is living a nice life. She visits her grandchildren in Illinois, commutes up and so forth, and she has been a turnaround person.
That is a fantastic story.
And if you could look at the turnarounds, you talked about profit, the social profit. You hate to necessarily measure the success of a nonprofit who is in the social support world based on what's your numbers of victory, what's your numbers of accomplishment. If you have accomplished one turnaround, you have done tremendous work for the society, the world, and faith, to put it mildly.
We see that all the time with our guests.
Yeah.
A guy that was served by the Journey Home and started out with very little the Journey Home helped him with budgeting and encouragement and confidence. And he went and found him a job and got him a place to live. He and his wife were divorced, and he went to court to get full custody of his children. And now he owns his own air and heat business.
Wow.
And just installed and did a fantastic job for me a few months ago for a new air conditioning unit.
And I bet he's busy right now.
He is, and he's just a great guy and very dependable. But we have a lot of stories like that. I mean, excellent. And you just run into them every day.
Give us one more time about September 14th. Time, place, entertainment.
Yes.
Is a good meal being served?
Absolutely.
Give us a little
highlight. With the Journey Home.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, so Groovin' in the Borough is taking place at Copper Ridge Event Venue on September 14th.
Where's Copper Ridge?
It's, I knew you would ask me that. Betty
Tennessee?
Ford.
Oh.
It's out off of Betty Ford Road.
Okay.
And let's see, I've got the address here.
We won't need that now. It's just so long to say, have your phone number and
yes.
email address to make a reservation.
Yes, you can reach us through 615-809-2644 or visit our website to learn more about the event. Love God, Serve People.
Let's do that again. Love God, one word.
Love God, Serve People.
No dots or points in between. Just
.org.
.org. Okay,
yes.
Perfect. Scott, some final comments?
Just a final comment on investment. When we invest things, when we invest our time, when we invest our resources, our money, we want a return.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a real cost to homelessness in this community. It's a cost borne at our emergency room. It's a cost borne in ambulance service. It's a cost borne at our jails.
Police response. Sure.
Police response, first responders. It's a cost, a moral cost and an emotional cost to people who encounter those that are on the street and feel like they can't do anything about that, or are scared of that. There is a real cost, and the programs at the Journey Home are designed to help people move forward in housing stability, in income, and in self-determination, growing their ability to become self-reliant and to participate in the decisions of their own lives. Things like faith, things like medical care, things like mental health care, things like recovery and sobriety, things like care therapy to overcome trauma, proper family function and parenting, how to build community together. those life skills. These are things that actually produce a very tangible financial benefit. And so the investment is not simply something that benefits us in a feeling of moral well-being or that we've done our part. There is really a financial return on the investment that people make in helping those move forward on their journey to housing and services and stability and self-reliance at the journey home.
And the interesting two things. One, any CPA will advise their client in July, this is the time to be planning your deductions for 2023. Don't wait till December. Plan in July, set it in motion. I will tell you right now, when we're off the air afterwards, I want to be a sponsor. And not only because of my longtime faith and association relationship with Journey Home and Scott, etc., but based on the fact that it just dawned on me, I have to start planning for tax deductions for 2023. This is the ideal time to start planning. Don't wait till December 31st. Oh my gosh, what can I do? This is the perfect time. The other point is the multiplier effect. For every homeless person, how many other people are directly related? Would you say 5 times? Family, and family, extended family. It's not only children, it's not only spouse, it's parents. I mean, how many grandparents are out there, for example, saying, I wonder what happened to my grandson. I've lost contact. I wish the grandson would reach back out to me. Is there anybody helping my grandson? I don't want to see him on the street for the rest of his life.
And, generational homelessness is a real thing. Just speaking, thinking about children, if we help these families and these children grow up to become just citizens like you or I, and don't have those things that they started out in life with, that is really going to change the trajectory for all of us.
And give a final shout out, if you may, to the churches of Rutherford County, that for many of them, homelessness is part of their agenda and part of their message and part of their carrying out of their faith and carrying out of their blessing. The religious community in this county, in this city, have been a phenomenal part of the battle.
In the beginning, one of the things that people would tell me as I was sharing about what God had put on my heart, that the capital C church, the Big C church, not the individual churches, but those of us that are Christ followers would come together from all different churches and denominations and work together. And I was told, oh, Scott, that might not happen. That's you're not going to get these folks to work with those folks. But let me tell you, the beauty at the Journey Home is that we have churches from basically all parts of Christendom and members that come together to serve in groups and provide a meal, to clean and repair a home so somebody can move in, to donate, to pray for us. There's quite simply, the Journey Home would not exist were it not for the churches of Rutherford County. And that's the simple truth. They are at the core, and people of faith are at the core of the Journey Home and the work that we do there every day.
I always like the analogy. I don't know if you gave me that analogy or somebody did, that the journey to Murfreesboro and Journey Home is not much different than the journey to Bethlehem 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, certainly something to think about when I'm constantly reminded of the parable of the Good Samaritan. From Jerusalem to Jericho is a very tough road, and one that is hard to travel, or at least in that time, and people helping people. Jesus said it really boils down to this: love God and love your neighbor. That's how we do it.
And I'm always thinking, and talk about a word, I'm thinking the amount of people who you could see walking up Church Street on the way to Journey Home. And I thought the name of the street has a certain reasoning and meaning for who we are and what we do. I certainly want to thank you all. We are at the Roundtable and talking about an advocacy and a responsiveness to a problem we can't just put under the table. And it's a national problem, and it's as much a psychological problem in terms of how we have people redirect their minds and redirect their confidence. And if there is anything, one thing that we need to do is create a confidence by the individual for tomorrow. An individual has to look toward tomorrow, whether it's one day or 50 years of life. This has been Bill Krause on the Roundtable, bringing to you the journey home. Please put September 14th on your calendar. Follow through. I'll see you there. I will be there. And
we look forward to seeing you.
Look forward to a wonderful years ahead, both in your new building, which will be a reality, as well as your continued love and responsiveness for Rutherford County. Next week, we'll see you all.
Thanks.